It's time for us to sit down at the table and turn this chaos into something stable. For love, one on one. We will not accept defeat, not on our land, not in our streets. Getting it done, reaching out to save the youth, letting them know the truth. Slim Nation is where good conversations dwell, positive affirmations well, make a strong nation as we spread the love. Slim Nation is where good conversation.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Slim Nations 101's podcast. I'm James Slim Overton, and we have a returning guest, no stranger to the Slim Nations 101's podcast, and Garry Harris. He's been coming back periodically, and we run into each other at events, and we'll talk and say, hey, what's happening? Give us an update. And he's going to always do that, hopefully, because it's always something to learn about our environment and what's going on and how we can be a part of helping save our environment or improve what's happening. We don't want to shorten the life of the earth or anything like that. And as wild as it sounds, that's a possibility. It might not be in our lifetime, so we have to think about our future generations and what we're leaving to them in many areas, especially as far as our climate and especially, he's especially here today because a project is coming up, or they're working on a project that's near and dear to our home. It's called the P-Town Cool Down, and that's for those who don't live in Virginia and watching. That's about Portsmouth, Virginia, here, and his hometown and my hometown, and it's probably going to be something similar to your hometown, wherever you are in the United States. So, but right today we're concentrating on our hometown in Portsmouth and some interesting information he has to share with us. So, good morning, Garry. How you doing?
Hey, how's it going, man? Always a pleasure to be here.
Always a pleasure, and and like I said, we always run into each other at events that involve the whole city. That always trying to do some things. And the last event we saw each other was the Stop the Violence event, and
Right.
well attended by citizens of Portsmouth and probably other cities as well. So we also hope that people get as excited um, about the information that you have to give, and also research on their own what's going on with the climate and how they can help. And that's the main thing, is how you can help. How we can get involved. So, Gary, tell us about this project, and we get into some other things as well.
All right. Well, first and foremost, thanks so much for having me here. It's always a pleasure to talk to the citizens of Portsmouth and also Hampton Roads as well. This morning we're here to talk about cool down P Town. And extreme heat. Over 100 million people in this country are experiencing high temperatures or extreme heat. I mean, in DC this week, we saw 100-degree temperatures in Phoenix, 110 in Las Vegas and Los Angeles. The same types of digits. One 111 and 115 accordingly. Extreme heat affects everybody in the country, whether you're living in the southeast or in the west, or even in the Northeast. And why is that? It's because of climate change. It's because of the releases of greenhouse gases and how they're changing our environment. And one way they're doing it, is severe weather. And severe weather spans the gamut. It can be tornadoes or hurricanes, or even extreme heat. And why is this so important? Well, because extreme heat is the number one killer in the country from climate impacts. You may be thinking, oh, well, those people just died in that tornado. Oh, well, those folks just died in flooding. No, extreme heat, is prevalent. And that's why it's so important. And that's why, here in Portsmouth, we need to get ahead of this rather than lagging. We need to get ahead of things when it comes to climate, and particularly because of extreme heat. An example, we got folks out here in Portsmouth working all day long in our shipyards and doing construction, and other things, which cause in our airports and such. It's so funny. We're sitting on our in our airplanes going, oh man, when's this plane gonna get to this gate? But while we're sitting on that aircraft, in the air conditioned environment and such, there's someone down on the tarmac directing that plane. There's someone down on the tarmac taking our luggage. There's someone down on the tarmac, refueling that plane, and they're exposed to those temperatures practically all day long. And we need to come up with protective rules, to ensure that those folks, aren't harmed, by extreme heat. In Portsmouth, the studies have shown that extreme heat is the number one. The Portsmouth is the number two hottest county in Virginia. Somebody a long time ago found that fact out and such, and that even amplifies it more. But even more than that, what about Portsmouth? And its existing conditions. We have health disparities here. We have economic disparities here. We have housing disparities here. We have air pollution here and such. And now we're going to layer on top of that extreme heat. How much can a city take? So that's why it's so important for us to get ahead of this. And make extreme heat and climate change important, not only in the city's lives, but in our daily lives as well. As part of this campaign, I took to the streets, to talk with people and make observations of the city and see what uh, what uh, what parts of the city had trees and what parts did not, etc. And one of the things I noticed is that in our more underserved communities, we're still using air conditioners, single unit air conditioners, in the homes of many of our elderly citizens and such. So what happens on those 90-degree days when that old antiquated air conditioner just can't keep up? What happens if it fails and such? And we have grandma in there exposed to these temperatures. So we have workers and the elderly. We have folks with health disparities. And all of those are vulnerable to extreme heat, and that's why it's so important. But at the same time, we need to. This is going to be a citywide campaign. We're not just focusing on some of the more affluent communities, or nor focused on some of our more struggling communities as well. It's citywide. So we're making sure that everyone benefits, but especially those underserved communities, benefits from this project and campaign. And who's doing this? Well, it's us, the Center for Sustainable Communities and Eco District Hampton Roads. It's the Virginia Wesleyan University. It's the Elizabeth River Project. It's Starbase Victory. We all come together, to do what is basically a big A science project. That spans the entire city. So it's about justice, climate justice, environmental justice, racial justice, social justice. It's about uh, science and such, and using science, in a way to benefit our communities. And we call that just science, where we use data from instruments like these and engineering and research and stuff, and we come up with just solutions, for our community and such. But you know what? This is not going to be, and we're not letting it be, where we have universities parachuting into our communities, extracting data and then leaving. and such. We're making sure that this is community led, community driven, community involved, community engagement throughout the entire process, and such. And they were working arm in arm with the university and others and such to make this a bona fide project. You know what? We're saving lives here. Bottom line, we're saving lives. This is the number one killer. And you know what? There's a link in studies have shown, statistics have shown, reports have shown, that there's a link between how hot it is outside, extreme heat, and crime and violent crime. There's a direct correlation there. And
Wow.
so if we take action to cool down our city, we can contribute. Maybe not stop, maybe not halt, but this will be a contributor, a measurable contributor to our crime rate in the city as well. So we got monies from uh, uh, state of Virginia and the forestry department there, urban forestry, to basically try and stand up trees. Make build urban forests or revamp urban forests in our cities, etc. Via these grants. But we decided to do, rather than just plant trees, we wanted to figure out where should we plant trees and what type of trees, and who should benefit, etc. So it's taking data, it's evaluating the data, it's and coming up with a citywide action plan to mitigate extreme heat and such. So we're excited about it and can't wait to get it going. And we need people to help us. You know, we can't do this alone. We need folks to come out on Saturday, July 13th. Uh, and bring their families and make this a citizen science project. Get in cars and ride along or drive or navigate through our communities. That's what we're doing. We're mounting sensors on cars, okay, and they're going through six prescribed routes through the city and such, and and as they go through these routes, they're taking data, all right, and that data is so important and such. So we're coordinating this with a national group called Kappa Strategies, and guess what? See, not only are we doing it this summer, but big cities like Charlotte is doing it, and some portions of Metro Atlanta are doing it. So we're right in there with a cohort of cities leading this effort.
Yeah, and it's so always so good to have you on here because a lot of times climate and the climate is something that we'll put on the back burner because there's so many other things going on. Even when you talk about social media, and most people think the climate is for those tree huggers that they might call them.
Well, this
People
is
that
tree huggers.
and
We need tree huggers.
yeah, need tree huggers and environmentalists and scientists and things like that. And unless involved in that, you just don't pay attention to it. And you mentioned earlier about the air conditioners and things like that. And as you think about that and think about even where you have central air conditioning in buildings now and all buildings, new buildings now, you see less windows. Even new constructed houses, you see less windows in them. And I remember back in the late '60s when they opened William E. Waters. That was it was something we hadn't seen. All the schools before that, it was windows everywhere because none of the schools had air conditioning. But Waters had very few windows. And when if the air conditioning went down, they had to send the students home. So that's just a part of the times and how they building things and relying uh, on the air conditioning and that it's going to always work. But like you said, those hot days. And one other thing before I talked to people that grew up with me, and they talk about, and I agree. Sometimes I said when we were small coming up, seemed like it was really hot then, but it probably wasn't as hot as it is now. But and to us, because to get consecutive days almost in the 90s and the hundreds, and you walk out and it's like the humidity too. And like they always report on the weather, the heat index.
Right.
You have the climate, what it actually is, and then that heat
Right.
index. And I think that's the part that really gets you,
Uh-huh.
because it actually, and you can explain what the index is. It's actually hotter than it seems hotter than what it might be if it's 97 and the heat index is 103.
You,
What
you know,
what is that?
before we get to that, you're
Mm-hmm.
spot on. The number of consecutive days with elevated temperatures has increased. Okay, so maybe when we were growing up, we saw upper 80s. We saw upper 90s. We saw 90 degree days, but they started later in the summer and for not so many days in a row. Now we're getting elevated temperatures earlier, and they're extending uh, uh, a long period of time as well. So we have a greater exposure, to these temperatures, and yeah, it's all about comfort. So when we go outside, how do we feel? Do we feel a cool breeze? Do we feel elevated temperatures? Are we suffering from humidity? All that comes together and forms this heat index and such. So it's really about our comfort, and what we feel and experience as humans, as we go about our day-to-day activities. But again, it's so important that we get ahead of this. On yesterday, President Biden, and I felt so good, because we started this cool down P Town project here and
Mm-hmm.
such, and uh, we've been working on it for months, and then on yesterday, for President Biden and his administration, who has been doing a lot for climate, with the release of everything from our funds through infrastructure bill, et cetera, et cetera. Tons and tons and tons of money flowing into communities because of legislation. But he took things a step further. On yesterday, he announced 5 initiatives, which are groundbreaking here, which will flow down to our community and such. First off, he said, hey, we really need a standard for our workers out there who are doing the job. I mean, think about it. You're in the studio, there's air conditioning, but there's a construction worker out there, that's getting the job done. There's a sanitation worker, out there getting the job done for us. There's a shipyard worker out there getting the job done for us. We need to protect them. OSHA is saying, hey, we're going to put in place some standards, some rules to make sure they have water, make sure they have shade, make sure they get breaks, et cetera, et cetera. That rule is being finalized right now and such. But it's all against, if we're going to stop people from dying from extreme heat, we have to take extreme measures and such, or some measures and such. So a new rule from OSHA is coming out to protect our workers. Yay! That's phenomenal. Also, he's instructing FEMA to come out with a rule to make our communities more resilient. And particularly against flooding. So he's saying, hey, whenever we have a construction project that's federally led or federally funded, we're going to assess it for flooding. Because sometimes, when we build stuff, we inadvertently create flooding issues and or enhance flooding impacts, etc. So that rule is gonna make sure that when we do construction, that uh, 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 we're not making the likelihood of flooding more prevalent and such. Next he said, hey, we need to put some money where our mouth is. So he says, hey, we're going to put $1 billion in grants to help mitigate extreme heat. He said that first, and then also severe weather as well. So imagine, and he also said, look, we want to make sure that these dollars go to the right communities. So he's putting a Justice 40 lens on this as well. And Justice 40 says, hey, the 40% of all the benefits must flow into communities from these federal dollars. So imagine $1 billion, coming and 40% of the benefits of that flowing into Portsmouth and other places as well. And guess what? With us doing this Cool Down Beat Down project, collecting this data, that puts us ahead of this grant selection process. So we're already getting ahead with this. You know, next the EPA is coming out with a report on climate. You know, and that report is going to be very comprehensive and such, and it's going to tell us, where the most vulnerable communities are in the in the country, and what we need to do about that, and how climate is going to get worse in the future. And then lastly, he says, hey, we're going to convene a new White House summit on extreme heat. Never been done before and such. So we're gonna bring in stakeholders from broad cross section of folks from all across the country, and we're gonna sit at the White House and we're gonna talk about this, and we're gonna fix stuff, in a just manner. So I was so excited about that, particularly that last point. I just came from North Carolina, from a heat summit there with stakeholders from around the country. We had former EPA administrators, former FEMA administrators there as well, and just a broad swath, everything from academics through law enforcement. It was there and such. And we talked about extreme heat over a 3-day period, again at Duke University. Did you know that last year we had about $90 billion, $90 billion in climate-related severe weather impacts? Every time we have a tornado or a hurricane touches us and such, we have those are monetary impacts as well. And so last year we had about $90 billion worth of climate-induced weather impacts, again caused by climate. And we displaced last year as well about 2.5 million people out of their homes, because of these climate-induced weather impacts as well. And this extreme heat, it just doesn't impact us; it impacts our power, our energy sources, our transportation sources, our fisheries, our forests, our delivery sources and such, from logistics, etc. So it's a huge problem. What else did they do about it? They started a new website called heat.gov. So if you're interested in doing this, interested in learning more, go to heat.gov. Oh man, it will tell you any and everything, but more importantly, it'll tell you what are the heat impacts in your community. It says, so you put in a zip code, and so it'll tell you that as well. So so how can citizens get involved in this? Why is this so important to Portsmouth? Well, we just talked about the fact it's the second hottest city or county in Virginia. And not only that, again, the existing disparities, and therefore we have cumulative impacts associated with this. So citizens in Portsmouth can get involved, one, by joining us again on July 13th, and driving or navigating, or even riding along. This is great for the kids in terms of a science project. So we want folks from summer camps, coming out, bringing their kids and riding in cars, and talking about science and how it can improve our community. Next, after we get all this data and stuff, we need community voices to tell us what to do. Again, it's not going to be universities parachuting in, and other folks parachuting in, saying, hey, I got the solutions. No, this is a community-led, community-driven project. So after we get this data, we need to tell we need to tell folks how important this is to us by helping to develop solutions. So one of the things that we want to do, the Center for Sustainable Communities wants to do, and visioning, is to create something called Rally for Resilience. Rally for Resilience around this data for this project. In no practice fact, in 2017, we won FEMA's award for community and individual uh, community engagement nationally and such. And the way we did it was by creating what we call Rally for Resilience. So we will have a Rally for Resilience here as well. Uh, Again, getting folks, with music and food and I don't know, mascots or whatever, but making it a fun, engaging, but solution building town hall meeting and such with experts, having the type of conversations we need to really cool down P Town. Now, on Saturday the 13th, we're going to be in the community. This is good. This is a community-centered project. So we're starting off at New Bethel Baptist Church on Greenwood Drive. Pastor Whitaker there has graciously uh, uh, loaned us his church, basically, uh, to do several things, both the training as well as the actual to act as the hub. New Bethel will act as the hub for the city for this project and such, and it's great because one, it's a faith based institution, and we want to espouse creation care around this. This is all about creation care. And then two, it's centered in community. And then three, we want to build capacity in our assets in community through something called asset-based development. So that will be our hub. It'll probably also be the site of our rally for resilience as well. And on Saturday, we're gonna have a news media there. The WVEC is going to show up. WHRO is going to show up. The NBC affiliate, Wavy, is going to show up and such. And besides that, some foot reporters, and who knows, James Overton may show up with his can as well.
Yeah.
So besides that, we've got interest from Portsmouth city government, both on the front end, where the planning department said, yeah, hey, let's make this happen. They gave us a letter of support, but also on the back end as well. The mayor has heard about this, and he is so excited, and he's going to show up on Saturday. And the vice mayor has heard about this. She's heard about this, and she's going to show up on Saturday as well. So it's a holistic event and such that's all about making our communities more resilient. Period.
So you say on the 13th, what time?
See, that's great question. See, this is not really an event. It's a day-long project. Keep in mind,
Right.
it's a science project. So we're doing a day-long investigation, a day-long gathering. So, but man, it starts off at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. So what happens is we have 3 times in which folks can join us, uh, uh, and that's for folks can join us from 6 to 7 on Saturday morning, also 3 to 4 in the afternoon, and then also 7 to 8 in the afternoon as well, in the evening as well. So that's when we're going to have folks driving out in cars, from our hub, and then, from there starting out and doing their routes in the city, 6 routes and such, which they're going to drive and such. They're going to drive 6 routes in the morning, six routes in the late afternoon, and then 6 routes in the early evening and such. But given the fact that folks want to see something, and folks want to get educated around this, we're working with media and working with the church to do something educational around this, and perhaps setting up a gallery to better explain this project, and showing folks the sensors and showing folks the routes folks are going through the town, etc. So there'll be a deliberate built-in educational component in this as well.
And we'll make
So
sure we keep getting that information out about that event, because the main part of it is having citizens involved, and
That's right.
a lot
That's
of
right.
questions will probably go towards them, how they manage the heat and what
That's
they
right.
need
That's
to do,
right. That's right.
and things that they can do, the little things that they can do to help the climate. Let
That's
me
right.
ask you this, and what would you say to those people that don't believe in the scientists and don't believe in the environment and things? I mean,
Oh, that's
especially
a
with scientists have been around since ancient Greece and Rome times.
that's
We've had those scientists way back then, and it's been an important part of our history throughout the years. And all of a sudden, they want to make science political and say this is not happening. It's always been hot. They just like I mentioned earlier about me talking to people saying, yeah, I can remember as a kid when it was hot. It's always been hot during the summer, but the the uh, the information shows that it's hotter than those past times. With the consecutive heat days, and some summers longer, and places where, and like I said too, how we are building. You know, Not even having the opportunity to open the window to let fresh air in. You see less uh, uh, buildings, so we more dependent on the mechanical workings of air conditions, which can break down, and then it can stop. I know they've had when City Hall, when the air or heat breaks down, and most of the air, they have to send everybody home. So
yeah.
that's a non-productive day.
Right.
So it affects a lot of things. So
Oh yeah.
what would you say to those people that don't believe in the science and want to take it out of the take it out of politics and put it back where it belongs in the scientific data?
Well, first thing I would show is the title of this book. The heat will kill you first.
Mhm.
so, so and I'm not pushing this text, but I'm pushing the theme and concept, and messaging behind this. Again, the data is there. Thousands of people, are losing their lives annually because of extreme heat and such, and they can step outside, and experience it for themselves, and and realize, hey, it's hot out here, or just look at the weather forecast, on a daily basis and such, and note the temperatures, and note how they're being steady and such. Also, look at the news reports, about extreme heat impacts and other climate related initiatives. Uh, and each year we have gatherings, through COP and other initiatives, where we're constantly gathering data on climate and such, and constantly gathering information and changing our modeling, etc. So the impacts are real, and we can feel it and we can see it, and now we can take some action about it and such. Why? Because we want to help contribute to lowering the crime rate in our city. We want to help those communities in our communities, uh, those residents in our communities who are most affected, improve the quality of their lives, etc. And the solutions are vast. We can do everything from, again, just simply planting trees, to perhaps pulling up concrete, to perhaps, finding ways to repair or change out air conditioners, to something more sophisticated, like establishing cooling centers, etc. One of the
Yeah. What do you
small
think
projects.
about the homeless out there?
That's right, and the homeless out there as well. That's an extremely vulnerable population and such. So the more data that we collect, the smarter we get, around this. We can guess where to plant trees. We can guess where to pull up concrete. We can guess where to establish a cooling station. But if we get hard, factual data, oh man, that really makes us smart, and makes the average citizen smart as well. So again, one of the projects that that will come off of this, and I'm proud to announce, first time I'm talking about this here on the Slim Nation show and such. Uh, First time the city will hear about this is the fact that we're going to establish a resilience hub here. It'll be a resilience hub is basically a sheltering facility to help mitigate the impacts of climate-induced severe weather uh, before, during, and after an event and such. So resilience hubs are popping up all over the country and such, but we don't have one here in Portsmouth, and we're going to get one here in Portsmouth, partially as a result of this project. So we're using this project. We are the Center for Sustainable Communities to kick off the the uh, the standing up of a resilience hub here in Portsmouth. So we're working with a local church, uh, and that resilience hub will be able to provide shelter and food and power and communications, and basic functional needs for an entire community over perhaps a 72-hour period, before, during, and after a uh, a uh, a severe weather event. So again, we'll be housing those functions in this facility. It's going to be a church and such. But so you ask yourself, well, how is power going to be maintained? Well, that probably means solar. So we're looking at not only creating this resilience hub facility, but also bringing in community scale solar as well as part of this. And that way we can help to reduce. Uh, we can provide that standby energy source before, during, and after severe weather event, but also uh, uh, in the absence of that, maybe use that energy source to supply solar to homes and such, and
Yeah,
reduce energy burden. And
yeah,
so that's exciting. So maybe also we can take that same facility and put in an EV charging station. So this is a kind of a force multiplier here. We want to handle extreme heat, and through data mapping, we want to make our communities more resilient, through tree planting and taking just and other just solutions. We want to we want to create facilities to withstand the impacts of severe weather before, during, and after. So we're going to create a resilience hub. So we want to make sure that we're reducing some of the contributors to climate, like energy, and standing up clean energy. So we're going to initiate community scale solar, and at the same time, transportation is one of the key and its emissions are one of the key contributors to climate. So we're gonna put in EV charging stations. So we're starting uh, uh, with this Cool Down P Town project, but the projects can go on and on and on and on. And another project I'm so excited about is the fact that we're also, and we just kicked this off on yesterday. We're bringing this here to Portsmouth. Uh, we're going to be working with Harvard University and the National League of Cities and the Department of Commerce and us and a few other folks around the country and such. And we're asking ourselves the question about community well-being. How do we measure community well-being? What are some of the metrics? What are some of the ways in which we can see how well communities are doing? Yeah, we talk about GNP. Yeah, we talk about all those other indicators like that. But when it comes to community, how do we really measure that well-being, particularly when we throw in the impacts of extreme heat and such? So we're proud to kick off that project here as well in Portsmouth, and that will pay dividends as well in terms of community well-being. So some exciting stuff here.
yeah. Well, thanks, and looks like the picture froze there a little bit, but I still heard your voice. And before we end, I want to one other question about
Oh,
the importance of making sure this education gets into the schools,
Oh
especially
yeah. Oh yeah.
our younger kids. And as we talked earlier about preserving, our climate and our environment for the next generations.
Uh-huh.
So the more they're educated,
Oh
they'll
yeah.
grow up, and it'd be a natural thing for them to be aware of the environment and the climate and how important it is for us to do our part. So I'm sure they have some education in our schools, the elementary schools, about plants and things like that, and photosynthesis and how that works and how important it is for us to do our part. But if it's not there, we need to make sure we push that. Make
Well,
sure it's,
well, you're spot on, and that's why we have Star-Based Victory as part of this
right, right.
project. They're going to be developing lesson plans. And making sure that this extreme heat data, and all of the solutions associated with it, and actions associated with it, are part of creating lesson plans and part of creating interactive curriculum and such, and part of creating of exercises, for students, like field exercises and such, where they can go out and measure data and take temperature with instruments, etc. So yeah, K-12. And matter of fact, one of the things, I, when I'm out doing canvassing, I always run into our teachers, and I say, we're doing a community scale science project. You should see their eyes light up. Oh, you know, I teach fifth grade science. So we have dialogues around this. And I invite them along to come on the come on the project with us and such. And they say, yeah, can I bring kids, etc. So again, it's a great opportunity to educate our kids, great opportunity to educate our teachers, you know, great opportunity to help transform the educational system around climate and its importance and such. And so we are encouraging at every instant. I encourage, hey, if you're coming out on Saturday, and you want to ride along, and you can do that. You can ride along with us. Just bring your kids, and let's
Yeah,
talk about science.
yeah. Bring your children to that,
Yeah.
because they usually are more excited about science than than the grown-ups, and and they'll be
well, maybe not this day and such, but we'll get everybody on board with us and such.
right, right.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
but they need to be involved, and as we talk about uh, uh, other issues we deal with, we encourage you to bring your children along, because they need to know what's going on. But
right.
anyway, I want to. It looks like you unfroze there, but
I
I
know,
want to
I know.
thank you for. But I'm
Well,
glad
at least your voice was going.
we still had your voice, and that was the most important thing.
Yeah,
But thanks
exactly.
again for coming on, and we'll
Oh
have you
yeah, man.
again
Absolutely.
real soon. Bring you back after the project, because I want to have a show or talk about the importance of solar energy.
Oh
And
yeah,
like you were talking a little bit, if we having this heat and everything, might as well take advantage of that sun up there in the sky, and and be more. Uh, and solar energy has been around for a long time, and you're
oh
starting
yeah,
to
yeah,
see more people in the neighborhoods. You ride through the neighborhoods, you see them on the roofs. People taking advantage
yeah, yeah.
of the solar energy. But we can talk. We have a whole show about that and talk about the
Yeah,
pros and cons of it right
yeah.
now, and where it's going.
And
You know,
installing the bright
yeah,
bad
and what
contractors.
yeah. You have to make sure you get the right people uh doing what they should be doing.
Right.
Because right. So yeah, we'll dedicate a whole show to that, because that's an educational piece too. Not everything that's out there is good for you. You have to be educated
Yeah,
on that too.
yeah.
But thanks again. We appreciate you, Gary, and we'll come back. And I want to tell everybody, make sure you like, subscribe, and comment and share this program, especially coming up, and get that book and read that. I'm gonna try to get it, and uh, and you can see going across the bottom of the screen, the Slim Nation, and
Yeah.
my Cash App. If you'd like to support us here and what we're doing, you can always do that. And even if it starts at $1, whatever, anything helps us do these broadcasts. And don't be confused that I have a Portsmouth coffee chat Talk head on because I try to promote that show as well. But this is the Slim Nation 101 podcast,
Uh,
and we sort of interchange. So,
yeah.
Portsmouth Coffee Talk and
Uh-huh.
the Slim Nation back there.
Yeah. So
Anyway,
excited. Thanks a lot for having me here and such. Please, please, please get engaged in this project and other projects we have going on as well. You can contact me by dialing area code 404-936-0620, area code 404-936-0620, or contact me via email at gharris at CSC Charlie Sierra Charlie hamptonroads.org. Love to have you. Need to have you. Let's make it happen together.
yes. Let's get out there and make sure we do our part. And I forgot to bring this to one last thing. We talked briefly about the importance of the recycling
Oh yeah,
issue
yeah, yeah.
and saving the life of those landfills. In Portsmouth right now, we're having some issues with the contracting of that. So I hope they can work that out. But we have to do our part. If we have the blue cans, you have to make sure you separate that stuff. Down the road, it could help tremendously, even if you don't think it's helping. But it makes a big difference.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and there's big dollars behind that now as well.
Right,
So our next show we're talking about the circular economy and
right,
such. And which recycling is just a part of that. But there's big money in recycle in the circular economy now. And we'll talk about what that is and how to perpetuate it here in Portsmouth, which we plan to do as well.
yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks again, and thanks everybody. And look, we'll see you next time on the Slim Nation 101's podcast. Take care. We'll see you.
Okay. All right. Be safe.
It's time for us to sit down at the table and turn this chaos into something stable. For love, one on one, we will not accept defeat, not on our land, not in our streets. Getting it done, reaching out to save the youth, letting them know the truth. Slim Nation is where good conversations dwell, positive affirmations where make a strong nation as we spread the love. Slim Nation is where good conversation. It's time for us to